Welcome to episode 3 of our BSAG Alumni series. We are here with Hall of Famer Nzinga Broussard, here to just tell us a little bit about her experience and the things she's up to now. To start us off, could you just talk a little bit about how you found Oberlin and what brought you there?
Yeah, it's actually a funny family story. So my mom worked at Ohio Wesleyan University, and so I had to apply to a couple of colleges, universities within the Great Lakes Conference Association. And so Oberlin was what she knew about Oberlin. So she was like, Oberlin is the top, well, I'm not sure if I can say this online, but the top school in the conference, right? So you have to apply to Oberlin. I'm not sure if she's allowed to say that working at Ohio Wesleyan. But there was definitely pressure from her to just apply to Oberlin. I also applied to a number of other schools as well. So my mom and my dad went to Northwestern University. I have a few other family members that went there. So the goal was to follow in their footsteps, go to Northwestern. I also applied to Stanford. Who wouldn't want to go to Stanford, right? I was fortunate. I got accepted to all of my schools. Oberlin offered me a full ride. And I also was contacted by, or had a conversation with the women's basketball coach and the track coach. And I think the conversation with the basketball coach, Coach Ann Gilbert, was just amazing. Coach Gilbert was an amazing person, an amazing coach. And I think we kind of knew right then and there that if I played basketball, this would be a program that I would want to play for. Actually, I had no intentions of playing sports in college. So that wasn't like a criteria for me. But I think our conversation with Coach Gilbert really brought basketball, the interest of playing basketball, to another level. And then as my mom just kept pushing how great Oberlin was, and you can go to Stanford for graduate school, is how she put it. And so ultimately she made the decision for me to come to Oberlin, which is what I say all the time, but it ended up being the best decision that we made. Yeah. So that's how I learned about Oberlin and ultimately made the decision to come to Oberlin.
That's awesome. Can you share a little bit more about your experience of being a Black student athlete on the basketball team at Oberlin, and how that was for you? And, maybe if you have any fun memories or fun stories that you'd like to share as well.
Oh, gosh. It's been almost 20 years since I graduated from Oberlin. So you're asking me to go back several years. I think when I was at Oberlin, the women's basketball team was predominantly Black. So we didn't think of ourselves as Black women athletes, right? We were just athletes because we all looked alike. And so I think for me, that was a great experience, coming from a predominantly white city where there might have been one or two on my high school team, one or two Black women on the team. And as you know, us as Black women, we deal with hair issues, some things that, other folks may not understand. And I'll just back up a little bit, and I apologize for being long-winded. But as I said earlier, I did not plan on playing basketball in college. So my senior year in high school, I cut off all my hair. I had a short do, and a short do does not work on the basketball court. So we ended up, that short do went to a shaved head over the winter break because I was not able to keep it up. And so, there was definitely some horror experiences that I had, just insecurities about not having my hair. But my first couple of years at Oberlin playing on the basketball team, I had extremely short hair. And I was very insecure about that. But I think my teammates made me feel comfortable with my look. And so I think that was one of the great things about, my former teammates and playing basketball at Oberlin. Just in terms of interesting experiences, I don't know. I might have been a little bit of a rebellious person when I was at Oberlin. I kind of made sure that I came to practice when I wanted to come to practice, which meant the early morning practices if I couldn't get out of bed. might show up late. Unfortunately, what that meant was that I wasn't the only one that was punished for that, right? The whole team had to, run for each minute that I was late. So I quickly learned early on that, my actions had consequences, not just for myself, but also for the full team. So.
That was everything, especially the story about hair, because hair and being Black women in athletics is definitely an experience. But it's really amazing that you were able to find community with other Black women on your team. What I want to ask is about the community of students of color that helped you feel welcome at Oberlin, outside of that as well, and the diversity that existed within your community.
Yeah, as I said earlier, I came from a predominantly white neighborhood. And so I think my experience with diversity was very limited. And I was very, very fortunate that Oberlin is an extremely diverse place, right, in terms of racial diversity, political thought, sexual orientation. And so coming to Oberlin, I think I just learned a lot about diversity that I probably didn't have the experience to experience from my hometown. And so I've always been grateful for that opportunity at Oberlin. But I think what I've been most grateful for is the diversity that I experienced within the Black community at Oberlin. So I believe my first 3 years I stayed at the African Heritage House. So most of the residents there were people of color. And I mean, it's just like, if anyone just thinks that there's a monolithic Black American or Black person, it just doesn't exist, right? Like that does not exist at all. We come from different parts of the US, right? So my East Coast sisters and brother were very different from my West Coast classmates. Those from the South were very different from those of us in the Midwest. And then we had, people from the Caribbean, people from the continent, which is Africa. It's just like, it was just different, right? I mean, it was just like, I think initially I thought, okay, I'll be around a lot of people that are just like me. And that was not the case, right? We might have looked the same. I mean, we had different shades of color, but we were all just so different, and it was very welcoming, right? So it wasn't a difference that was dividing us. It was a difference that brought us together. It was a learned experience. It was like I said, it was very, very eye-opening for me, and it's something that I value to this date.
That's amazing. And that is definitely a fact. Blackness is not a monolith. Here at Oberlin, I've been able to find that too. I'm an economics major, and
yes,
my research, you were also an econ major. So I wanted to ask a little bit about how your experience was being a Black woman in economics, and how the faculty helped you pursue your professional career now.
Yeah, I think so let me start with how I got into economics, because I did not know I'd become an econ major and then ultimately get a PhD in economics and be an economist. That was not my life goal. But I took my first econ course because I'm not exactly sure why I took my first econ course, but I was a math major. I loved math, and all I wanted to do was take as much math courses as I could. But I never really saw mathematics as, I never saw myself as having a career in mathematics. And it wasn't because my professors didn't, show me ways that you could use math as a career. It was just, there was nothing that triggered in me in any of my courses where I said, oh, I would like to do this more. I was really doing it out of enjoyment. When I took my first econ course, I remember sitting through the entire semester thinking this is just applied math, right? Like it's all multivariate calculus. But the professor strayed away from any math, language. I think even I raised my hand at one point and asked, this is just a derivative on a curve. And he just kind of looked at me like, we're not going there right now, right? And so it was just kind of, I think, a love at first sitting. where it was just this kind of infatuation that I had with the discipline. But I also just saw the opportunity that economics could present itself in, right? It's a social science. So it seemed very, very real, using the skills that I thought were my strength, where it was the more theoretical, analytical, mathematics part that I thought were my strength. And then I just had the opportunity to have amazing faculty, right? Oberlin has amazing faculty in general, but the econ department was just really, really exceptional. The faculty became mentors and advisors to me. They're the ones that really set me down. I had at least 3 econ faculty members, Professor Cleaton, Professor Hess, Professor Craig. Like, they set me down. It was just like, have you thought about going on to graduate school, right? You're excelling in our courses here. There's a lot of potential since I was a math and econ major. So I was really, really fortunate to have faculty in the econ department that really showed me all the different opportunities that I could pursue with a degree in economics, and also pushed me to do more. I still talk to them to this day. I just had a conversation with Professor Hess last week. Professor Craig, I've stayed in touch with Professor Cleaton. Every now and again, we touch base just to kind of see how we're doing. So it's always been, an amazing opportunity to have the faculty that I have. And
so
again,
you've also had the opportunity to travel abroad a couple of times. And so I was wondering if you could share your experiences with traveling abroad, and, what made you even decide that that was something that you wanted to do?
I think that's one of the great things about being a student athlete at a college like Oberlin. So I had 2 opportunities to go abroad while I was at Oberlin. They were both in the same summer, which was the summer after my junior year. And so for basketball, I had the opportunity to represent the USA on the women's basketball team for the Arafura Games. And that was in Australia. So that was a great opportunity. It was the first time that I had ever been out of the country. So you're talking about what I think I might have been maybe 19, 20 at the time. And, it's just like, we're talking about me coming to Oberlin and being exposed to so much. And now I'm going to Australia and being exposed to even more. And so I think, I was very, very fortunate to have that opportunity. And that, it was because I was a Division III athlete. And this was actually I believe it was the first time that the USA was being represented in the Arafura Games. The idea was to try to get the games more recognition. So it's the countries that surround the Arafura Sea, which are the participants. So it's like a mini Olympics. And so we were able to participate, and I was able to participate in that event. Then I think I came home for like maybe a week, and then I went to Europe for part of at that time there was this Oberlin in Europe program offered by one of the econ professors. And it was, I think it was a 6-week program. I'm not exactly sure. But I was able to, I think I was either a research assistant or a teaching assistant under their program. And so I had the opportunity to travel throughout Europe. The way it was structured was that we spent 3 weeks in the Netherlands studying about see, this is where I'm going too far back, but it was these are kind of like econ, not really business courses, but businesses within Europe. It was like studying those type of topics, and we also took a cultural awareness course as well. And then we spent a week each in 3 other European countries. And what was really fascinating about being in Europe at that time was this was the summer right before the Euro was rolled out. So the Euro was rolled out in January of 2002. So I was there that summer right before the rollout of the Euro. And so there was a lot of excitement about this new currency that was about to be rolled out in all the countries that we were studying in. And so it was just like a great time. And it was a great experience to be in Europe at that time. And that opportunity came because of Oberlin. But
again, thank you for talking to us and being a part of our 3rd episode of the Alumni series.
Yes, thanks for having me. This is a great opportunity. And as always, it's always amazing to hear you all do great things. So I appreciate us being part of it.